Welcome to this episode of the Mindset Flex podcast. This is your host, Elise, and today we're going to talk about not eating your feelings. And I'm really excited because last week I asked you guys on Instagram what you need help with or what is a topic that I should hit on. And you guys hit me with so many awesome things that I really was sitting on it and could not decide which one to really dive into. But the reason I decided on this one is because this really hits home and this is something that I have personally struggled with. So how we're going to dive into this is me telling you my story. I'm really not just here to preach. Like the whole reason I started this podcast is because I give myself pep talks all the time. Like I need to hear this. So every time that I hit on a topic, honestly, it is also mainly a pep talk to myself. So I'm going to share with you guys in depth my story with food and also how I overcame my addiction to food and where I am at currently and still kind of the pep talks that I give to myself in hopes that this will help anyone who struggles with this. But even though we're talking about food, I really want you to think about something that you personally struggle with that you don't really know how to get out of. Like this can feel like a cycle. It honestly can be anything. I know that food is something that is actually a big problem for a lot of people because controlling our bellies is not something that's easy. And it's honestly the easiest instant gratification that we can give into. So going back to my story, I've been an athlete my whole life. I've been competitively skiing since I was basically 6 years old. And then coming to America, obviously, I had to stop doing that, giving up on my dream, whatever. I kind of talked about this before. That is not the point of the story, but it does really put a heavy emphasis on how I developed this unhealthy relationship with food. So coming from Hungary to America, first of all, the food was so different here. And immediately I felt that addictive desire towards it. But in high school, I ran cross country. I did track. Like I was always doing sports. Everybody like kind of made fun of me for being strong. Like if we had to move all the bikes in practice, they're like, all right, Elise, come on, grab all the bikes. So I was always an athlete. I was always strong. Everybody knew that. And everybody kind of expected me to have a six pack, but I didn't. Like I definitely had strong legs, but like being a teenager, like you're not that developed. So this sounds ridiculous, but it messed with me. And by the time I was a senior in high school and I got into partying and loved my life and basically drank every night in my senior year of summer, don't regret it. It was super fun. But, there's a season for everything. And I'm kind of glad that I got that out in high school. But senior year, I ended up developing this eating disorder because I would go out drinking and then the next day I would feel like crap. And also I would kind of come home and like eat everything in sight. Like my parents would be sleeping and I'd just like go in a pantry and like, ooh, what can I eat? I'd get like the drunk munchies. And that really developed a bad habit and an addiction to food. And then anything that came up in life, I just started using food as my go-to, right? Because it makes you feel really good when you eat really good food. It's that instant gratification. And I didn't really know much. I mean, I was like 16, 17, 18, right? So I was like, all right, well, I'm going to count my calories. I'm going to really pay attention. And then when I have a slip up, like I go out drinking and then I eat everything. On Sundays, I will just drink water and I'm going to go to the gym and do hours of cardio. So this is literally something that I started doing my senior year. And a couple months of this developed a really unhealthy habit where I honestly woke up one day and I was like, holy shit, I think I have an eating disorder because I can't stop this vicious cycle. And now if I see pizza, I'm going to eat the entire pie. Like I cannot just eat a slice. I'm going to eat everything. So food literally became something that was constantly on my mind. It was the solution to everything, but it was also like my biggest enemy as well because it was destroying my body. And I was supposed to be this athlete with this six pack and I didn't have a six pack and I started to freak out. And I remember like telling my mom, like I remember crying and telling my mom that I think I have an eating disorder. And she was like, no, honey, you're okay. Like you're fine. I swear nobody believed me. And I just started like Googling stuff and I was like, oh my gosh, I totally relate to this, But I was 18 years old and I was in high school, like senior year, about to graduate. I didn't really know what to do. Like I didn't know what help to get, right? Like I'm living at home, I'm in high school. So I kind of decided to embark on this thing by myself because I felt completely alone. And I was also too embarrassed to tell anyone about this problem. But it was really, really, really bothering me. And honestly, at first, I just started praying about it. And so the first step is definitely awareness. So if you are struggling with something or you have a problem, the first step is awareness. Like you need to become aware of your problem. And step two is seeking help. Like what kind of help are you going to seek? I did not seek the help of other people or going someplace because that's just not something that I had at my disposal, but also I just didn't think that that was possible and I felt too embarrassed. So I embarked on it by myself. So I was like, okay, like what can I do? And I had this workout with a friend of mine who came to visit from Jersey because I was living at Cleveland, like going to high school in Cleveland. And we did a leg workout together. And I was like, oh my gosh, I really miss like having a hard workout at the gym because that's what I grew up doing. Like I grew up doing really hard workouts. And at this point, I was just doing hours of cardio. And I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, no, I want to start lifting. And I remember specifically this was Memorial weekend of my senior year. And one leg workout, I just made a decision. I'm like, okay, I think this is going to be better for myself. Like, let me do some research. So I went to bodybuilding.com. This is 2013. I have no idea what I'm doing. None. I'm just like, I need some workouts. Like, I don't know how to use any of these machines. All I know is how to run on the treadmill for hours, trying to burn the calories that I ate the day before. So I'm going to go on bodybuilding.com and do some research. And honestly, bodybuilding saved me because I just started learning. So step 3 would be learning. Learn about whatever your struggle is and how you can overcome it. So step 1, awareness. Step 2, seeking help. So don't just sit in your problem. Go out of your way to try to get help, whether it's by yourself, it's a website, or it's actual people or a meeting, whatever. Seek help. And then step 3 is start learning. So I honestly just started learning about food. Like I started learning about the science of food, like how it breaks down, the difference between micronutrients and macronutrients. And the more knowledge that I gained, the more aware I was of the food that I was actually putting in my body. Like it was no longer just a feeling that I was trying to like numb, right? Because food numbs a feeling because it's instant gratification and it feels so good in the moment. So I was gaining this knowledge. And then I also started writing on my hand with a Sharpie, you are in control, right? Because no one else is in control. I'm the one who's making a decision to eat the entire pie of pizza and not just a slice. Like that is me. So you need to realize that no one else is actually pushing you to do the thing that you're doing. It is 100%, 1000% your decision. And it's just a habit that you created for yourself. Like it is a habit. So what you need to do is you need to reverse the habit. And in the beginning, it sucks. It's really, really, really hard because you're trying to turn a bad habit into a good habit. Like you're literally trying to reverse it. So however long it took to get into that bad habit, it's going to take maybe even twice as long to actually reverse it, to unlearn this habit and get into a new one. So you're not stuck. You're not down in a dark hole, unable to get out. But the truth is that only you can get yourself out. It's a form of addiction like anything else. And you can get outside help. But at the end of the day, it is going to be your decision every moment of every day to not give into this bad habit. So gain as much knowledge as you possibly can about the thing that is keeping you in this prison, in this addiction cycle prison. So with food, right, using food as comfort, it is an extremely bad habit, because number one, you're numbing something that you should not be numbing. Like you shouldn't be never be numbing your pain. You should deal with it, as in welcome it. Okay, hello, hi there, you're here. Okay, cool. I see the pain body coming up. I see the anxiety. I see all of this. Instead of numbing it and pushing it down and suppressing it, I'm just going to welcome you. What's up? The moment you welcome it, like I talked about this before, you gain power over it. It does not hold power over you. So do not ever numb something like a bad feeling or a pain with some external thing like food, because food is not only going to make this problem even worse because you're just honestly making it worse under the surface and it's going to explode at one point, but you're also destroying your health in the process and your mental health. And you're teaching yourself that you do not have discipline. Therefore, if you start other things in your life, you're not going to believe that you can actually follow through with them. This is why people lose so much trust and belief in themselves, because they've literally just taught themselves that, well, if I say that I'm going to do something, I'm actually not going to do it. Like if I say that I'm going to take control of my eating, I know that I can't count on myself because I actually won't be doing that. So realize what you're actually doing to yourself and in what ways you're destroying yourself, because you are destroying yourself. So let's go back to food. I wrote on my hand, you are in control, because I was. It was my decision. It was no one else's. It was my willpower. It was my discipline. If I gave into my desires, that was my choice. It was nobody else's choice, right? That's my conscious mind who's deciding to do it. So you need to realize you are in control. Your belly is not in control. Your desires are not in control. You are in control. It's your decision. So if you have to write it on your hand, like I wrote it on my hand with Sharpie every single day, Elise, you are in control, then that's what you do. And that helped me tremendously, because once I had the knowledge of what I was doing and I kept doing research and honestly just like becoming so obsessed with learning about health and holistic nutrition and all of these things, I gained the knowledge, but now I needed to actually put that into practice, and I needed to train my brain into a new habit. And even though I had all of this knowledge, I need you to realize that's not enough. Knowledge is not enough. Now you need to put it into practice. So what's going to help you? What is going to be the thing that's going to push you to put this into practice? So for me, it was constantly reminding myself that it was my decision and I was in control. So if I would sit down and I would get the urge to overeat or like all these cravings, man, I had crazy cravings because that's what I got my taste buds used to. I would crave sugar and gluten and salty chips and like literally like everything that was bad for me, I would crave all the time, because that is the habit that I taught my mind. So it was literally having a chemical reaction, a chemical craving, and also my taste buds were craving that. And it takes time to reverse that. So every day was hard, but guess what? Every day was also easier and easier. So the more I practiced this, every single day took a little bit of less effort. Until one day I just woke up and I realized, oh my gosh, like my taste buds are used to eating like chicken and broccoli now, which I'm just giving you an example. Like I was not eating just chicken and broccoli, but I'm giving you an example of after a while, like after a couple months of doing this, instead of craving pizza and chips, I was actually craving my prep food, because this is how I got into bodybuilding. Like I just slowly reversed it. And so I started this process in May of 2013 and graduated high school, obviously in June. Then my whole story of, not being able to go to CU Boulder because I didn't have a green card. So I had to stay home, go to community college. I was depressed because I lost all my friends. And then I was like, well, I have the gym now, so I'm just going to go to the gym every day. So I was practicing getting over my eating disorder and putting the right things in my body, and also working out every day and reading literally every single article on bodybuilding.com. And in December, so gosh, I suck at math. I am not going to count how many months that is right now, but like 8 months later, something like that, 7 or 8 months later, somebody came up to me at the gym, was like, like you should compete. And I was like, what is that? And it's literally how I got into competing. Like I never even knew about competing. I honestly got obsessed with this whole process because it was making me into a better person. Like it helped me gain so much discipline, so much willpower, and actually get over my eating disorder. I was like, oh my gosh, this is the greatest thing ever. I just want to do this every single day. And whatever that you struggle with, what you need to realize is that it's going to be hard work. So it's going to be hard and it's going to be work. What that means, I'm going to say this again, is don't expect it to be easy, and don't expect it to not take a long ass time, because it's going to take a long ass time, not just days, not just weeks, sometimes months and sometimes years. Like it is a long process, because however long it took you to get yourself into this bad habit, it might take double or triple the amount of time of constantly practicing getting yourself out of this bad habit into a good one. And that's really what addiction is. We get into bad habits and now our brains crave this addiction. That is what addiction is. So you need to reverse the process. You're not helpless. You're not stuck, but it's just going to take hard work. So that is basically how you can honestly reverse any addiction in different ways for sure. Like, absolutely. But it takes these steps and it takes hard work and constantly being conscious of the decisions that you're making. No one else but you. So I really hope that this episode helped you guys, anyone who's struggling out there with whatever, right? Like, this was about food and addiction to food, or overcoming not emotionally eating, which is a bad habit and is an addiction, but it really applies to every other aspect of your life. If there's anything else that you're struggling with that's a bad habit or an addiction. So I hope that this opened some of your eyes. I hope that this helped. And if it did and you loved this episode, please share it with someone that you love. Share it on your stories and tag me on Instagram at Elise Phillip. That's ELIZFULOP. And if you have not given this podcast a rating, it would mean the world to me, because that's how iTunes or Spotify puts this podcast into other people's feeds. And like always, I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. Go out there and make the rest of your life the best of your life. I'll see you in the next episode.